Hello, my name is Michael Barajas, and this is my presentation on intercultural groups in the US, especially this one is based off of Carrefour trying to enter the US marketplace early or in 1988 or so, and how they made some mistakes and how they were not able to succeed. So in the agenda, first off, I'm going to talk about the introduction into the market for Carrefour, their marketing strategy, the timeline of the events of what happened to the company, their marketing goals originally, and what led to the downfall, which is going to be with the questions and the problems and solutions that Carrefour faced, which could have led to success, but didn't. So marketing strategy. Carrefour was very vague in why they entered the US market because they basically mentioned that the US market was one of the strongest in the world and they knew that. So they thought that learning from the US market and adapting would lead to success in the long run. So they tried going for a greenfield strategy, foreign direct investment right off the bat, which did not go out well because they started opening off with hypermarkets, which was not used to the American public, which are used to normal supermarkets and grocery stores. So they started off with hypermarkets with greenfield foreign direct investment, and then after they had the plan after the first success to expand, and then later on learn and adapt to achieve success in the U.S. market. That was their original marketing strategy. Now, proposed timeline. So basically, Carrefour started off with their first company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and that started in March of 1988, and it did not receive good public recognition, especially since it was in a marketplace with already previous competitors who are already established, such as Walmart. So they had to fight against them. 1 year later, in February of 1989, the New York Times released an article explaining all the faults that Carrefour had created in their market penetration strategy. And the article basically ended with high hopes for Carrefour because they were struggling. So the market said that the article said that Carrefour was going to stay into the market and had hopes of being successful in the long run, especially since they had the money from other countries doing with high turnover rates, high revenue rates. So the whole company was already going to be a success. So even if they did not succeed in the US, they were still going to learn from it, which is not a good idea. Later on in 1992, Carrefour stores were being abandoned and closed down. So they decided to go for one last ditch effort in building a new store in Voorheestown, in New Jersey. And the following year, due to financial debts and acquisition from Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods, both the Carrefours and the hypermarkets had to close, even the one in Pennsylvania and the one that they just built in New Jersey. So marketing goals. So Carrefour had an obsession with the public reputation because that's what they thought the problem was. So they would always be focused on pouring money into the marketing. So Carrefour had the wrong template. They believed that their strategy that worked in previous countries would work in the US, not knowing that the US is built upon 50 different markets, one market for each state, plus an overgeneralization of the market for the US as a whole. So their market just didn't, their strategy and template just did not work for using hypermarkets in the structure of the buildings. They were late on adaptability. They had a plan of adapting as soon as they saw where they could improve well, but still keep their idea. And they just did not adapt when they had the ability to, and that led to their loss in the long run. They also had problems with the lack of distribution and distributors, as well as established competition. Since they were not receiving great consumers, most of the American consumers were going to Carrefour's competition, such as Walmart, and distributors seeing that ended up going more towards Walmart as well and leaving Carrefour behind. Downfall. So here are some questions I wanted to present to the class or to you, teacher, professor. If you wanted to listen to them, I will read them out right now. And you could pause the video for a quick second if you want to think about the answer, or if anyone in the class wants to answer before I answer. So the first question is, what do you think that Carrefour could have done differently in entering the US market? The second one is, did Carrefour have the right plan but the wrong time? And the last question would be, what would be a better approach to the market penetration in the US? And how could you prepare for market entry? Which is a little bit similar to the first question. Okay, just pause the video if you want to answer. Okay, that was time to pause. Okay, so what I think the answers would be, or what could be an approach to it, is that what Carrefour could have done differently in entering the US market was, instead of doing a greenfield approach in foreign direct investment, they could have definitely approached with brownfield. Because if they already acquired an established company, the established company would already have loyal consumers that would constantly go back. So Carrefour would already have a basis of people to slowly change the company they acquire into their own Carrefour brand. So that would have been an easier way to slowly ease into the competition or into the marketplace. But just greenfield acquisition as a whole is much more difficult. You have to gain the public opinion and you have to build from scratch, whereas brownfield in this case would have been a lot better. And that leads on to the second question. Did Carrefour have the right plan but the wrong time? I don't believe that Carrefour had the right plan. Even nowadays, hypermarkets are not common in the US. They're more tend to lean towards grocery stores and supermarkets. So the idea of a hypermarket and the golden plan that worked in other countries working in the US just was not a good plan at all. Carrefour should have had backup plans. And the wrong time, they did try to enter the market in 1988, which was near the end of the Cold War. Not that that had much of an influence, but at that time, a lot of Americans were a lot more patriotic and against foreign infiltration into their marketplace. So there was a lot of backlash towards Carrefour and their reputation when they were trying to build. So it was a little bit of the wrong time as well. If they tried to do it nowadays, I believe that people would be a lot more open to the idea of hypermarkets, especially being able to communicate a lot easier with the internet and seeing how it worked in Europe. But then again, supermarkets, super malls, and grocery stores are still leading the way in the US market. So hypermarkets still would not be a good idea. And what would be a better approach to penetration in the US market, and how could you prepare for the market entry? Just studying up on the US consumer base would have been a great idea to enter into the market. Knowing that it's such a wide market, 50 markets, one for each state, and then one larger market for the US as a whole, would have been great, because Carrefour really underestimated the US and thought that their one golden plan was going to work, and then eventually they would be able to learn and adapt, which they were not able to do, which led to their failure in the long run. And problems and solutions. So here are some problems that they faced and their response to the problems, and here are the correct solutions that they could have done. So the layout of the hypermarkets were bizarre to US consumers. People did tell Carrefour that this was an issue, and recommended to even build walls between like produce and other items that they were selling. And Carrefour's response to this was to spend more on marketing so that the layout seemed normal to consumers, which was not a good idea. They should have just listened to the recommendations of their consumer base, and they should have just paid instead for the marketing and to fix the layout and change the hypermarket. Maybe going into a supermarket instead of a grocery store would have been better. Underestimating the US market, as I just said, they had the whole idea of learning from the US market being one of the strongest markets in the world. They thought the idea of learning from the market, adapting would lead to success, or they would get kicked out. This is true, but they did end up getting kicked out. They weren't able to learn and adapt in time early on. So an easy correction to that would have been to study the market beforehand and have multiple backup plans and adapt quickly. It would have been a lot better for Carrefour to even have a blank slate as a grocery store or supermarket rather than jumping into the hypermarkets. So how to start with entering the marketplace. This just goes into what I was saying. Carrefour jumped straight into the hypermarkets and their familiar golden plan, which did not work in the US. It worked everywhere else except the US that they tried. Maybe some other countries that did not work out well. I did not do much research into it. I mainly focused on the US, which was my country. The correct solution would have been to start off with grocery stores, shopping malls, and supermarkets, since that is known and familiar with the US consumer base. So it would have been less foreign, and they would have had a lot more involvement and interest rather than the hypermarkets being bizarre and scaring people off and being something new that people did not want to try. And Carrefour also had higher prices than their competition compared to Walmart and other companies. Carrefour offered most of their prices at a premium. They did have better quality items, premium items, but that does cut off a large amount of the consumer base for grocery stores, supermarkets, and hypermarkets. So correct solution to this would have been to offer both low quality grade items, medium grade items, and premium goods, all at their respective prices, of course, so that they still make profit and they don't lose anything. But that does bring in more consumers and appeal to a wider range in the marketplace. So they would have been able to succeed a lot easier. Thank you very much for watching my presentation. I hope it was okay. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this international team management class course, and thank you. That is my email on the bottom. That's my personal email that goes straight to my phone if you want to contact me about anything regarding this project, or I believe I sent this link through this YouTube link through the email as well. So you have that email as well. And here are my resources. Yeah. Thank you very much and have a great day.